What's good, y'all? Al Famous, living my life, not thinking about it twice. Don't be scared to like, subscribe, or share this dope content if you like it. Let's get it. Yeah, let's get it. Now this joint right here is about the game being over, you heard? And the game been over since back in the days, man. A lot of dudes acting like now, all of a sudden, the game is over. Dudes is snitching, the dudes is going to jail. Police, the government, everybody know about everything, you know what's going on. It ain't nothing new under the sun. You understand what I'm saying? Now, the only way you're gonna be getting over out here is if you doing something that's new. You doing something that ain't being done yet, or that people is not on to yet. Because everything as far as selling drugs, committing crimes, doing robberies, doing all that dumb stuff in the hood or out the hood, is all over, man. It's all over. And it's been over since back in the days, but a lot of people don't say nothing about that, you know what I'm saying? Niggas talking about OG Mag, niggas talking about this person, that person, this person, but niggas been ratting, bro. Niggas been ratting, the game been over, bro. You heard? You gotta remember, in the 60s, what did they do? They killed off all the leaders, all the people that was bringing people together. You heard? The John F. Kennedys, the Robert F. Kennedys, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, and the people outside the country that they assassinated. You understand what I'm saying? Around that time in the 60s. You understand what I'm saying? So boom, in the 60s you had different groups. You had Black Panthers, you had a lot of different groups trying to come together to bring the people together, and the government was keeping the people apart. You understand what I'm saying? So they was into assassination. They killed off 3 or 4 or 5 leaders, B. You understand what I'm saying? John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and whoever else they killed off at that time. You understand what I'm saying? With assassination, bullets from snipers. You understand what I'm saying? United States is brutal, B. You heard? They brutal, man. You heard? They gonna lead this, they gonna take this back with fear. You heard? They gonna take this, they gonna always take this back with fear. You understand what I'm saying? So in the 60s, you had that. Then the 70s, you had what? All of a sudden, drugs. You understand what I'm saying? Drugs hitting the community, you know what I'm saying? In particular, heroin, you know what I'm saying? They turning niggas out, like they said. They was turning the black Americans into dope fiends, and they was going against the hippies for the marijuana. So that's why back in the days in the 70s, they was charging marijuana like they charging niggas for coke now. You heard? Yeah. Back then they was charging niggas almost like marijuana for coke. You know what I'm saying? So they was getting rid of the hippies, and then they was getting rid of the black Americans with the heroin. You know what I'm saying? By, you know, branding us with that, talking about like, yeah, them black niggas coming from the war, them niggas is all strung out on heroin and dope. And then you got the white niggas, they running around on a hippie joint, smoking mad bud. But bud at this time will get you a 5 to 15 to 10 to 20. Yeah, man. They wasn't playing with dudes. So that's how they was crushing the United States. You understand what I'm saying? Controlling this joint, you heard? And then by the time the 70s come, you got Nicky Bones and these dudes, you heard? Blowing up. They letting these dudes blow up. But see, I see it a whole different way. You understand what I'm saying? You got to think about it. All the major cities of today, 20, 30 years ago, was poor, was abandoned, run down houses, run down buildings, run down homes. Everything was run down, you heard? You understand what I'm saying? Then, that was in the 70s, you heard? Then, you know what I'm saying, they started letting drug dealers do them. Now, you know, when people sell drugs, what do? You buy things, you understand what I'm saying? So, all the mobsters that was into the drug game, you heard? Them dudes was making mad money, buying mad real estate, buying mad houses, buying mad clubs, buying mad property, buying mad businesses in the neighborhoods. They was doing a whole bunch of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Buying up everything. They owned everything. You heard? But the government took it all back by taking them down. You heard? Take them down, take everything back, all the money, all the property, because they could say that it all came from illegal. Came through the mob, came through drugs. That's why you think the mob didn't want a lot niggas selling drugs like that. But they were selling drugs. You heard? Everything that the mall was doing, they came down on them and took all that money, took all their property, took everything back. Now the government or somebody else own that front, you heard? Or that business or that corporation, you heard? So boom, you had Nicky Barnes and them niggas. You got Nicky Barnes, Frank Lucas. Nicky Barnes out of Harlem, New York. He was a household name. By the time I was 5 years old, Nicky Barnes was a household name. I was already a kid hearing about a guy named Nicky Barnes. 7, 8 years old, I'm hearing about a guy named Nicky Barnes, a big time drug dealer. Then come to find out you got hundreds, if not thousands of these guys spread it across the United States. Nicky Barneses, you heard? In every major city, you had a Nicky Barnes. You had a few of them. Then the 80s, it was Wu. In the 80s, you had Gotti and you had Sammy the Bull. Big rats. Gotti stood tall, you heard? They was willing to let Sammy the Bull get off from committing over 20-something homicides just to get one man for the future, because it was hard to get the Mobster dudes to tell. So they figured that if we get Sammy the Bull to flip, that'll break the whole code. And it did. It broke the whole code, because once Sammy the Bull told, it gave mobsters an out to tell in any situation that they feel comfortable. So they was the first ones starting to tell and do all that ratting and blowing stuff up. You heard? Because black people can't tell on nothing. Black people don't have too much power. Only thing they could tell on is their own operation, or maybe probably the person next to them. But they can't go past nobody's operation, because they knee deep in the game. So then Nicky Barnes, big time drug dealer. You heard? Did it all. Drove all kind of cars. Dealt with all kind of women. Made all kind of money. Lived it up all kind of ways. He still, when he got caught, he couldn't lay down. He couldn't man up like a man. He had to tell. And he had an excuse. His excuse was, yo, man, they was messing with my wife, man. They was doing this. They driving around in my cars, man. What does all that matter for if you got life in prison? If you a rap, you heard? But dudes turn being a rap into being a rat. You know what I'm saying? And this is in the 80s. You heard? This is in the 80s. This is when we coming out the house. This is when I'm coming out the house. So I'm coming out the house to, dudes being rats. You heard? The game was already set up for niggas to fail. You understand what I'm saying? When they came out the house. So now we in the 80s with Nicky Barnes, when we in the 80s with John Gotti, Sammy the Bull, you got Nicky Barnes, you got Frank Lucas, you got all these major players, black, Italian, mob, black mob, you heard? And at the end of the day, these dudes turn out to be pieces of shit, you heard? Out of 4 dudes that I just named, there's only one dude that stood solid, and that was John Gotti, you heard? And they don't make people like him anymore like that. You know what I'm saying? So now look, that was the 80s. Now when the 90s rolled around, we had niggas like Alpo, Rafis, Rich Porter, Pistol Pete, Lou Sims, Farris and them. You heard? You had a whole bunch of killers. You had a whole bunch of get money dudes. You heard? You understand what I'm saying? Now, if you look at the 90s, Alpo was a rat. You know what I'm saying? He did a lot. But a lot of his dirt was done in the 80s, and they didn't take him down until the 90s. You heard? Then you got Rafis out of DC. Big rat. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the biggest drug dealers that could come out of DC, and at the end of the day, he ratted on niggas. You heard? He ratted to get his mother a time cut. He ratted to get his mother out of jail. You heard? He took down Griselda Blanco, son them. You heard? He made sure all that money came back. You understand what I'm saying? See, it's a big story with the drug game. A lot of people don't know the drug game. All this is a part of a system. You understand what I'm saying? In the 70s, they gave us drugs. In the 80s, they gave us guns. In the 90s, in the 80s, they gave us drugs. In the 90s, they gave us guns. Because in the 90s, everybody, it used to be hard to get a deuce. In the 90s, it was the most easiest time to get a hammer. The most easiest time to get a hammer. You understand what I'm saying? So in the 90s, they was flooding us with guns. Why you think they had the movie called Strap? Because that's what was happening in a lot of neighborhoods. Niggas' neighborhoods was getting flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Just like in the 80s, niggas was getting flooded. Niggas' hoods was getting flooded with drugs. Flooded with drugs. Flooded with drugs. Flooded with drugs. You know what I'm saying? Then in the 90s, flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Flooded with guns. Then what they started doing in the late 90s, early thousands, building a lot of jails. Building double bunk boxes, building all these different jails. You heard they went from having 20 jails to 45 jails. They went from having 50 jails to 90 jails. Yeah, they building jails out here. You heard? Because they already messed up a whole generation. They messed up generations of people. You heard? From killing niggas leaders in the 60s, giving niggas drugs in the 70s. By the 80s, niggas was strung out on drugs and niggas was getting strung out. And then you gotta remember, the disease AIDS popped up. You understand what I'm saying? In the 80s. You understand what I'm saying? People started losing their life. Remember, that was the biggest thing in the world. You heard? AIDS, crack, all that was in the 80s. You understand what I'm saying? They messed us up in the 70s and 80s. By the time the 90s rolled around, they was handing us guns to kill each other. And what we was doing, killing each other. You know what I'm saying? So now we running around, we killing each other, all in the 90s. By the time the end of the 90s come now, these dudes is getting locked up. Everybody getting locked up. You gotta remember, they had Giuliani, they had Pataki in there. They was locking niggas up. Everything, jaywalking. You heard, hanging out past 12 o'clock. Yo, man, I don't care what it was. You was going to jail, B. You was going to jail. And by the 2000 came, all the jails was built. They was having all these jails built, all these double bunk boxes, 5 Point, upstate, this jail, that jail. And this is just New York, y'all. This is just New York. And then you gotta remember, back in the 70s and 80s, all the big major cities was what? They was run down. New York was run down, bandit buildings, everything looking looking messed up, looking like it was Mad Max out here. You heard? You know what I'm saying? You go to Detroit, you go to Atlanta, you go to Cali, you go to all the major cities. You heard? They was all doing the same, and they was all being ran by the underworld was being ran by the mob, and then they dealt with certain black people that they wanted to deal with. And when they wanted to eliminate you, they eliminate you. If you got too much money, if they want to rob you and kill you, like they did to Frank Matthews, they do it. Yeah. You heard? Rob you, kill you, and take your money. You heard? You think the Italians were gonna let Frank Matthews get away with all that money that he made? No. Them Italian dudes, they more grimy than anybody, B. So they wasn't letting Frank Matthews get away. You heard? It didn't matter if he was the biggest black gangster, one of the biggest black gangsters around. It didn't matter. He's a one-man army. Once they put the law on you, it's a wrap. It's all good. You heard? That's why we haven't heard from Frank Matthews yet. You know what I'm saying? because them niggas got rid of them, man. And you know, back in those days, they was all about getting rid of the bodies, you know what I'm saying? So most of the people that they knocked off, they got rid of that body, you heard? You know what I'm saying? So that's why we don't never hear nothing about Frank Matthews, you know what I'm saying? Only the story of what happened, you heard? But everybody, all the real people know, the mobsters, you know what I'm saying? They double-crossed them, you know what I'm saying? They put the boys on them, and when they put the boys on them, they robbed them and killed them. Kidnapped them, robbed them, and killed them. You heard? Took his money. You heard? Come on, B. It's obvious to a duck. You know what I'm saying? So like in the 90s, you had Alpo. You had the snitch-ass nigga Rayford Edmonds, you know what I'm saying, out of D.C. that was working with Griselda Blanco. The mother, the lady of death, you heard? Think about it. They let her get away with so many murders. Why they let her get away with so many murders? Why they let her get away with so many murders? They said she was responsible for over 100 murders down there in Miami and Florida and all that, up and down the East Coast, you heard? Why would you think that they let her get away, let her get up to go home, and her kids get a shot to go home? You know why? It's because she was part of a bigger plan. She helped them take down Pablo Escobar. Yeah, man. She helped them take down Pablo Escobar. You heard? So that was her deal. Just like Sammy the Bull got off the deal of killing over 20-something people and he only did 5 years in jail. Yeah, well, Griselda Blanco was known for killing over 100 people, or responsible for having over 100 people killed or murdered, robbed, everything, even husbands and baby fathers, right? On United States soil, right? She had hitmen, hit team and everything. But when they caught her and she went to the feds, she only did about what, 20 years, if that? 20 years, if that. She didn't even do nowhere near that. You heard? Why? It's because she gave the government what they wanted. She gave them Pablo Escobar. You heard? She gave them Pablo Escobar. And when you give this American government what they want, they give you something. You heard? And in her case, all she wanted at that time was freedom. So they gave her a date for freedom. And guess what happened to her and her sons when they hit Colombia? Because she did so much dirt that people don't know about. She destroyed so many people's lives that people don't know about, that when she touched that soil, or her kids touched that soil, they took care of her quick. You heard? They didn't care if she was 60, 70 years old. They took care of her ass. And they put her away quick. You understand what I'm saying? So that, I'm just letting y'all know, the government is foul, B. When they want to let you go, or they want to give you a deal, or they want to look the other way, they don't got no problems doing it. No problems doing it. You understand what I'm saying? So I look at all this as a design. You heard? You had the Black Panthers, you had all these groups, you had the hippies, everybody coming together trying to fight. Some people wanted peace. Some people wanted equal rights. Some people wanted no discriminate. Some people wanted less discrimination, everything. So people was coming together, black and white. You understand what I'm saying? So they had to kill the movements. They killed the hippie movement with the marijuana. The hippies had the marijuana movement. They killed them niggas saying marijuana is a level 1 drug, killing niggas, you heard? Whatever level they would make, they change drugs to be so they could come down on dudes. They had marijuana like it was cocaine, B. They had marijuana like it was cocaine, pardon me, y'all. Had marijuana like it was cocaine, B. Excuse me. Had marijuana like it was cocaine, B. You heard? And basically, like I said, they killed the movement because they knew the hippies and the black people was coming together because they fighting for the same cause. You heard? You know what I'm saying? It's a little different, you heard? But niggas was fighting for the same cause, B. The government, you heard? And the government came out with their tricks. They came out with their plans, you heard? Hit the hood with drugs. Hit these people with drugs. You know what I'm saying? What did the drugs do? The drugs made people rich. The drugs made people have money. When people get money, what do? They buy businesses. They buy things, you heard? So when all these cities was poor. All these cities was ran down. But they put the drugs in the city so the city itself could produce its own money. You heard? Yeah, that's what they did. Because if you look at every major city was run down in the 70s, the 80s. Then they funnel every major city with drugs, right? What do people do? People hustle the drugs, become drug dealers, become powerful, get money. Next thing you know, they buying this, buying that, buying this, buying that, buying this, buying that, buying this, and on all levels, y'all. I'm talking about you could be from the dude that's on the street level tip to the person that's on the wholesale level tip to the person that's on the top end of it. You heard? It's levels to it. You understand what I'm saying? And they always making money hand over fist. You understand what I'm saying? And different people buy different things. Like the street dude, you know what I'm saying? He might buy cars, clothes, and jewelry, right? But the wholesale dude, he's buying houses, cars, boats, different things. And then you got the top dudes, they buying everything. They buying buildings, corporations, everything. So you got 20 years, you get 20 years of drug dealing in all these major cities. Now look at all these major cities. They build up. Why? Because the drugs build up every city. The drugs that was coming through New York in the 70s and 80s helped build New York City. The drugs that was going through DC in the 70s and 80s helped build the metropolitan area. Yo, I'm telling you guys, B, you heard? It was all a plan. You know what I'm saying? So that about time the 90s hit, they was already had us, they was flooding our hood with guns, So that's why you had the movie called Strap. That's why you got all them cop movies where the cops was doing foul stuff in the neighborhoods just to get collars, just to bust dudes, you heard? And not really attacking the real problem. You know what I'm saying? So boom, the 90s was the guns, then the thousands was the jail. It's all laid out for niggas. And it's laid out for niggas' kids and the ones after them. You know what I'm saying? My uncle and them, they might have not went to jail like that. They might not went to that prison system like that. You heard? But by the time it got to me, we was all going to jail. We was all in prison. It didn't matter what we was in there for. You heard? So I'm just telling y'all, B, everything was a plan. Everything was a plan. You know what I'm saying? And in the 90s, you had a lot of drug dealer dudes going down, getting killed, going to jail. You had a lot of killers, a lot of shooters on the street. What happened to them niggas in the 90s? A lot of them niggas went to jail. The Pistol Petes, the Lou Sims, the Pharisees, the Alpos, everybody. All them niggas went down, you heard? Then by the time the 2000s roll in, you got the World in them, you heard? You got World in them out of Brooklyn. You got World, you got Nut, you understand what I'm saying? You got a lot of different people, you heard? In that era, right there, that went down in them thousands, you heard? You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of different people. You had the BMF, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, BMF came up and went down, you heard? Everybody that came up went down, everybody. So that lets you know that it was a system, you heard? A system that you couldn't escape, you heard? A system that you couldn't escape. If you escaped it, if you grew up and you didn't use drugs, they was gonna catch you with the violence, you heard? If you grew up and you wasn't violent, they was gonna catch you with the drugs. They was gonna catch you doing something, you heard? Because it was part of a system. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at the game now, nobody could tell me, yo, that man's a rat. Yo, that man's a homo. Yo, that man's this. Yo, that man's that. Yo, that man's this. Yo, that man's that. I already know what niggas is because niggas show their hand all the time. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as me running around talking about niggas is rats, niggas is homos, niggas is this, niggas is that, niggas is this, niggas is that, and all that, I'm too old for that. I got too much on my plate as a man, especially as a black man, to be worrying about who's a rat, who's a homo, who's this, who's a sucker, who's this, who who got faded, who didn't pop off, who took it on the hop, this and that, that and this. Now, if you got time to worry about that, that's on you. But I don't got no time as a black man because I'm trying to move forward in life, you heard? And I know that everything that happened to me was part of a design. And if you don't know what happened to you and you don't know where you going, you ain't gonna never know who you gonna be. You understand what I'm saying? Now, that's a lot of characters out here. They running around. Everybody think they tough. Everybody think they know it all. Everybody think that they thorough, you heard? But you ain't thorough until you change lives, you heard? When you got people coming up to you and saying, yeah, bro, that story changed my life, or your story changed my life, or what you was talking about helped me, then you ain't talking about nothing, you heard? You know what I'm saying? A lot of niggas be on this YouTube and they be clout chasing, you heard? Clout chasing off of niggas' names, clout chasing off of niggas' status, clout chasing off of niggas' everything, you understand what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it's a lot of things that you don't see me do. You never hear me say, suck my dick. You heard? You never hear me say, calling niggas out their name. You don't really hear me calling niggas rats and all, like, even if they is a rat, because at the end of the day, calling somebody rat, I know somebody just got stabbed the other day for calling somebody a rat. You heard? You know what I'm saying? So, like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. All that trying to prove that you a tough nigga by saying that a nigga's a rat or nigga's a lame or nigga's this or nigga's that, all they're gonna do is gonna get you in problems. You understand what I'm saying? Problems that you don't want. Because for 9 times out of 10, if a nigga is a rat, why would you want beef with a rat? Why would you want beef with a rat? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's niggas out here that they want beef with rats, B. Like, they want to talk shit about rats to the point where, like, they think that it's not nothing. Nigga, a rat is a rat, nigga. You understand what I'm saying? And you got to know what type of rats you dealing with out here, B. Some of these rats, these niggas is rats with a cause, nigga. Some of these niggas got the upper hand. These niggas got the right of way to do whatever they want to you, nigga. So you running around, oh, that nigga rat and this and that nigga do something to your ass and get away with it. Who gonna be Folio? You is, nigga. You know what I'm saying? So get off that bullshit. If you over a certain age, nigga, you shouldn't be running around talking about nobody, just nothing, nigga. Get to your bag, take care of your kids, get to your money, do what you do, get your education up, nigga. Get your work skills up, nigga. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, nigga. You heard? These suck ass niggas, you heard? I'm just keeping it real, man. You heard? So don't tell me about no rats, don't tell me about no lames, don't tell me about no chumps, don't tell me about none of that, nigga. Cause I know about all them niggas, B. You heard? I was up north with them niggas, B. And I wasn't fucking with them niggas up north, so why would I even think about and give these niggas some breath now, nigga? You know what I'm saying? When you a man and you stand on all twos, you stand on all twos. That's it, nigga. I don't need no validation from none of y'all niggas, nigga. I don't gotta click up with nobody, nigga. We out here, nigga. You heard? We all got a life to live, nigga. You heard? And nigga ain't hiding, B. Nigga ain't hiding, man. Nigga fighting this, going through this struggle, B. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get through this struggle, man. This design that these crackers done put a nigga in, you heard? And you got our own people that's trying to hold us back. They trying to hold us back, man. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we learned in the streets is a fucking lie, man. Everything we learned in the streets is a lie, man. I came out the house hearing about Nicky Barnes, man, and didn't even know Nicky Barnes was a rat, man. You heard? Frank Lucas, they made a movie about him. He's a rat, man. You heard? John Gotti, Sammy the Bull, Alpo, Rayfus, Rich Porter, Pistol Pete and them, Lou Sims and them. You got World in them, Old Nut. You heard? Come on, B. Come on, B. How many of us have fell to that system, B? How many of us, man? We gotta open our eyes, man. We gotta open our eyes.